Creating variation and interest in your songs is a must, as it is what keeps the listener of your song wanting to listen through the entire track. Adding this interest to your track has never been easier. With all the software that is on the market, you can add effects and variation to your track instantly. But there is one simple effect that is almost always overlooked and can find its way into any track and give the interest that your song needs. This effect is the telephone EQ effect. So why is this telephone EQ so effective? How do we create this telephone EQ? My name is Daniel with Envato Tuts, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to create the telephone EQ effect. So let's get into the DAW. The telephone EQ effect is a specific type of EQ curve. The filters are set in specific spots to give the sound of what it's like to be listening to someone or something on a telephone, that sort of nasally, distant sound. This telephone EQ effect is so effective in your tracks because it places whatever instrument or element that you put it on in the mix in a very specific part of the mix, so it shines through and gives character. Now, this telephone EQ effect can be accomplished with any EQ. You don't need any special type of EQ, or you don't need to buy any special plugin to get this effect. So we have here a vocal that we're going to apply the telephone EQ effect to. Let's have a listen to the vocal without the effect.
Oh my, middle of the night, fire casts a light on you.
Now let's apply the telephone EQ effect. To create this effect, first we're going to add a low cut filter. In this low cut filter, we're going to bring to around 1000 kilohertz. You don't have to be very precise with the range. You just have to be close to the range here. So whatever sounds good to your ears and what fits in your mix, but around 1000 kilohertz. Next, we are going to add a little resonance or Q to this filter. Let's bring up the gain and create a peak. This is going to add to that more nasally sound that we hear from a telephone. Next, we're going to add a high cut filter. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to bring down the filter to around 4000 kilohertz and raise the decibels and create that resonant sound. Thirdly, we're going to add another EQ, and this is going to be a notch EQ, and we're going to dip down the frequencies in between the high cut and low cut filter. This EQ shaping is what mimics that telephone sound. So now let's have a listen to what the vocal sounds like with this EQ effect on.
Oh my, middle of the night, fire casts a light on you.
As you can hear, it sounds a bit more distant as some of the high frequencies and low frequencies are cut out, and it is in a very specific part of the mix now. So let's hear this vocal effect within the context of a song. Without the EQ effect,
Oh my, middle of the night, fire casts a light on you. I slide a little to the right, just so I'll be next to you.
and now with,
Oh my, middle of the night, fire casts a light on you. I slide a little to the right, just so I'll be next to you.
as you can hear, having this telephone EQ on opens up the mix a little bit. It lets the other instruments come through as there are less frequencies in the vocal. Taking this a step further, we can also automate on this telephone EQ on specific parts of our arrangement. So we had the verse here, and now the buildup plays here. So what we can do is automate on this EQ just on the verse and have the vocal ring out more on the buildup. This is a very good technique to use on really any of your sounds. The telephone EQ could be on a piano in the buildup and could be ringing out in the verse. You could have a bar where the effect is on then turn it off. Really getting creative with this telephone EQ on the different elements and the different arrangement is what will yield the best results. So let's have a listen to what this sounds like with the telephone EQ automated. So first, let's have a listen to the verse and the build-up without any of the telephone EQ.
Oh my, middle of the night, fire casts a light on you. I slide a little to the right, just so I'll be next to you. And as the world goes round and round, you take my hand and we leave the ground. I'm in the stars when you're around.
And now let's listen to it with the telephone EQ automated on the verse and then taken off on the build-up.
Oh my, middle of the night, fire casts a light on you. I slide a little to the right, just so I'll be next to you. And as the world goes round and round, you take my hand and we leave the ground. I'm in the stars when you're around.
As you can hear, the vocal ringing out full frequency in the breakdown and being telephone EQ'd in the verse adds to a dynamic arrangement and adds that interest to your track that you need. So the next time you are looking to create variation in your song, to create a dynamic arrangement, to add more interest and effects, try using the telephone EQ.